Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Option Menu Crew podcast. This is our first official episode of 2022, episode 41. Today, your crew members are myself, Ryan, and with me today is also Ed. How you doing, Ed?
Oh, I cannot believe it's already 2022. Um, just mind blown that time has flown so quickly over the I was gonna say over the last year, but like even since we started doing this, it's been been a ride.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy what we've managed to accomplish so far. Pretty happy. We're thinking of changing some stuff up, just calling back to any of our listeners who are checking out this episode. Like, technically, our Game of the Year episode was the first of 2022 because of when it released, but yeah, this one we tried leaving notes. We took a little break just to enjoy the holidays and whatnot, and give ourselves a rest. Talk about the direction we want to take the podcast and whatnot going forward. So we're still working some stuff out there, but we've got some ideas. And right now, we're going to continue things as they are now, doing our bi-weekly topic-based things. But we wanted to start off and be a little more fun, and that is a part of our theme here for the next year is try to be a little more fun. So we are doing our most anticipated games of 2022. I guess I feel weird about that topic, and we were just talking about that before we started recording, because I feel like I'm not trying to tell the audience what games to look forward to. Now, I hope you match some taste with me and have a curiosity and go try it out or look at these games, but I don't think I'm going to mention anything too out of the ordinary. But yeah, I feel weird about that title, but Ed made a good point. Every podcast does it like that. So that's the only reason I had any sort of reservations. But yeah, Ed, if we were to call this episode something else, what do you think we should call it?
Um, uh, uh games I want in 20. I want these. I
I
want
want
these in
these.
2022.
I like it.
I
I like that. Games we want in 2022. That'd be cool too. It's a little bit different, but yeah, it's the same. I don't know. Yeah, we haven't decided. When you listen to this episode, a title will be decided. But until then, you can know until the end of this episode, we weren't quite sure what we were going to call it. But yeah. So, I don't know. Going back over what we had here, I've got a PC, I've got a PS5, I got my Switch. Oh, and I don't remember if I said it on the Game of the Year episode, but I think I'm not going to be buying any Switch games this year. Not that there aren't some on my list, and not that I actually haven't tried a Switch game this year, but I'm renting on GameFly. I'm thinking I'm not going to buy one because I really want a Switch Pro. I really want, or the sequel Switch, whatever it's going to be. So that's kind of where my head's at with 2022. I think I'm just gonna I am gonna rent a few things, but Ed, have you tried anything, or what's your temperature read on this year of games from your list?
So just to be clear, for the Switch 2022, that or the reason you're not buying it is you're waiting for the Switch Pro, and is that because you don't want to play like the subpar version of what any games come out right now?
The performance hits on Switch games at this point, even when they're exclusive or partially exclusive, is really, really disappointing. So
I think I would you say even when they're exclusive. I think especially when they are exclusive, because you think if they were targeting the Switch, they'd be able to make decisions to make them run well. But
so yeah.
yeah.
Well, my specific example for that, what I was saying is I recently rented Monster Hunter Stories 2, and I'm playing it on Switch. I know there's a demo. I kind of fell behind, but I put it on GameFly just to try it, because if I liked it, I was going to keep playing. But it is available on PC. So that's the thing, is they developed it exclusively console for Switch, but they've also made it a PC version. So, and this is a turn-based RPG. There's some open world areas and stuff like that, and it's using a much more anime cel-shaded art style. It looks great in general, but when it's in motion, it does not hold a steady 30 FPS. It might even be an uncapped frame rate, and it's just not really going in anywhere. And even during battles, it gets kind of weird and choppy in ways. Luckily, there isn't really much in terms of like reaction based stuff. The only thing that really happens is from times there's a quick time event here or there, but that it doesn't seem that hard to deal with. But yeah, just playing it I've played it both portably and I put it on my TV, and it's chugging, man, and it makes like walking around that the overworld areas really tough. Especially
I believe it. Believe it.
yeah, especially what makes it feel really bad is you pick up materials and stuff around like typical open worlds. So in Monster Hunter Stories 2, there's materials and things you're supposed to grab for like crafting items and whatnot. And there's just like this, I don't know if it's specifically more because of like when I'm riding my monster or something like that, because that's a thing you can do. And when I get near the thing, like I have to jam on the A button in order to get it to properly like pick up the thing. I don't know if that's because of the lag or if it's just because of, well, it doesn't register correctly because you're riding your monster, or both, which
So
also
it
sucks.
doesn't auto picking up an item when you ride over it.
No, most open world games don't do that. For whatever reason, they, you get close to the thing, you press A, and you pick up the item that's on the ground. Luckily, you can do it whether you're on your monster or off your monster, so that's
Okay.
nice. Some games, old school open world games, didn't even let you pick up stuff while you're on your mount or vehicle or whatever. They would force you to get off the thing to pick it up, and that's something that's kind of been fixed over time.
Well, I haven't sworn off the Switch just quite yet. I there are a few games I'm looking forward to, either announced or rumored, and um, I but I think what I'm gonna do is just wait. Maybe not even like first day reviews. Like I want to see these games out in people's hands for like a week or two. Really
Mm-hmm.
like make sure everything is out there before I make a decision.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go on the third rant in a row about Shin Megami Tensei 5, but man, if I didn't feel burned on that one, I have learned my lesson.
Yeah, and I think more to what you were getting at is we don't even know if Nintendo puts out its next big hardware update, whether it's just a hardware revision or if it's an actual full sequel console, that we won't need to rebuy games to get 60 FPS performance patches or things like that. Hopefully it's native and you just put it in and the games work, but it could be also like with PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro where some games need these big patches. Other ones have like the performance mode and stuff like that. And it's hard to say. I feel like, and I think we both kind of felt this from both Shin Megami Tensei 5 and with Monster Hunter Stories. And one of the games that I'm going to mention, at least in a minute, is that these games feel Hyrule Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors. It feels like these games were definitely made to be built on there, and definitely they could have played on the original. Like that's the thing. Kind of like when the new 3DS came out, they're like, oh, these couple games could play on both, but really, it's made to play on the new thing. So I feel like yeah, what we're doing is we're playing games that were meant to be debut stuff for the new hardware, and be like, see how much better it is on the new hardware, and why you should get it right away. And they're like, well, we can't, so we're not going to announce it, but you can put your games out because you were supposed to have compatibility mode. So I feel like that's where we're at, and it's really sad. But yeah, how do we let's start talking about our games we want to play. So Ed, do you want to go back and forth and just we'll each go down like our full list, or do you want to go month by month?
I was thinking that maybe we could go and start with the stuff that has a release date or at least a release window
Yeah.
of maybe like if they've given it at least a quarter. Like if they're saying
Mm.
like I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but I think Breath of the Wild 2 belongs in another category because they've just said, "Yeah, it's coming out in 2022." I don't believe that, but I I uh, I think we should start by the with the stuff that actually has a release date or is very close to that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna stick to my list, which I only have definitive release dates on. So yeah, what? So I don't really have any of those, but you mentioned like Breath of the Wild 2, but that's so like speculative. But yeah, why don't you say what are some of your games that you have on your list that don't have a set release date that you're looking forward to?
Oh, that do not have a set release date?
Yeah, like you were just describing.
Um, really, I think the only one that is actually, like, confirmed as existing and doesn't have a set release date that I'm looking forward to is Final Fantasy 16.
Mm,
I'm sure both you and I will say that. Um,
yeah,
and that one, I I kinda think it's gonna slip into, like, Q1 2023.
that's my
I
feel
don't know
too.
I don't know if I wanna call it a 2022
Especially
release.
especially after that announcement that they put out about delaying the game getting delayed 6 months because of COVID.
Yeah, and then there was, like, some other story I read that and this is where, like, the hype cycle and rumor mill gets kinda ridiculous, but the story I read was like, "Oh, the game that they were gonna announce after Final Fantasy 16, that announcement also got delayed because of Final Fa the levels of
Yeah,
abstraction are kind of absurd, but yeah, it seems like everything is really being impacted by, current state of affairs, and I think, Final Fantasy 16 is gonna be a casual that, not make it.
yeah,
But that was one game that if it does come out in 22, I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. Same here. If it gets a 22 release date, I'm definitely gonna be buying it. If it's on Steam, I'll buy it on Steam. If it's just coming to PS5, which I forget if there was like a news article about this. I forget where I heard about it. Is that it seems like Square Enix? Oh yeah, Square Enix is gonna skip Final Fantasy games on Xbox. So that this generation, which is just I don't know why they keep doing this. I don't know. I don't understand. I guess Sony just keeps paying them a bunch of money, and Xbox just doesn't.
Square Enix really likes that exclusive money, whether it be from Sony or from
Epic.
Epic Game
Yeah.
Store. I mean, they're they're very easy to pay off to
They
get you on their platform.
and they did work with Xbox before for the Tomb Raider trilogy as
Mhm.
like as a semi console exclusive, but it really was just console launch exclusive. But it's yeah, I mean Square Enix has definitely been hard up since Avengers, so I feel like they're extra doubling down on it, which is fun.
They're not hard up. They had, like, their most profitable year this last year. They're not hard up.
Well, there you go.
I actually looked it up. But I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I
Yeah,
did look it up, and they're doing well now. They stumbled with Avengers, but they're well into the black.
and that's the thing, right? Because they complain so much, like, oh well, this was so bad, and then you hear about Final Fantasy 14, where they literally can't even buy more servers because there are no servers available, and they have to stop selling their game. And that's a question. That's a whole other topic I want to talk about. Is like, do MMOs really need to be MM or O? No, or I should say that. Do they really need the O and MMO to be like part of the game? Because then you get these issues. We hear all the time about things like breaking down or these games die off, and it's like there's still people who would play them. Like, why don't you just separate the section between like the local and the online so that way you can still sell the game and it doesn't require a server's infrastructure for everything. I don't know. I feel like that's a weird thing, and a lot of games are server based now, so it's not like it isn't there. But I just don't understand I don't understand why it's such a necessary thing, and maybe that's just because I don't play it. So I wish I wonder. I have to do some more looking into it. But yeah, yeah. So now with games, was that your only game really that didn't have a definitive release date?
Yeah, and we can put yours Breath of the Wild 2 into that category
Right,
as,
right.
like, 2022
Maybe.
hopeful, but maybe unlikely.
Yeah, maybe this year, maybe not. Tough to
Yeah.
say. Yeah. So do you want to go like month by month and just go by our list, or do we want to?
I don't think I have everything for many months. I think I have like two that I really know of that are coming out that I'm like, yeah, I want to play these. So why don't you tell me a couple of yours because it sounds like you have a bigger list than I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess because I'm just looking at my list, and while I have a couple things, it's really kind of lopsided now that I look at it. Is
lopsided in what way?
um, there's very little towards the second half of the year, and most of the stuff is in the first quarter. But like you said, delays are everywhere. So I think the game we both know for this month that we're keeping an eye on, and by the time this episode goes live, it may actually be out. Pokemon Legends Arceus. So
Yeah.
I was definitely getting hyped for this game, and then as Nintendo has trickled out more official information, I started getting less hype because it seems like the whole conceit is you're just filling up the Pokedex, and I'm sure for regular Pokemon fans, they're just like, yes, that's all I play these games for is to collect the monsters and fill up the notebook. And for me, I'm like, I'm looking for something more, man. And that's where I think Monster Hunter Stories 2 is actually scratching that itch of like, oh, it's a video game that also just happens to let you collect monsters as a thing. Kind of like Shin Megami Tensei. I've heard some people compare that as like the better version of Pokemon. So
It predates Pokemon
right.
series.
But even like today, like by
Yeah,
comparison, because
yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei is older and in some ways hasn't evolved and in some ways has. But Pokemon also same thing, like weird evolution cycle in and of itself in terms of games and mechanics. But yeah, I want to rent it. I think I'm just going to rent it now and try it. And I don't think I'm going to buy it because I think the performance is going to be terrible. So the frame rate will just not hold up in that game. So I'll try it out. I'll give it a look, and then I'll pay really close attention to find out if there's some like late game twist that turns it from a collectathon into like an actual RPG adventure. But that's
Yeah,
my
I don't
feelings right
know if
now.
I guess I saw the recent gameplay and I thought from that I became more interested. But I guess you're right. We don't know how much there is to the actual gameplay loop. If it's just get a mission, go out here, catch a Pokemon, come back. But the gameplay I thought looked fun. I like that it's still turn based, but there's a little bit like of an action real time component to it in terms of hunting the Pokemon. I think it seems like the gameplay that they have there looks fun. They had those what do they call them? The noble Pokemon battles where you're fighting these like noble Pokemon. You have to like wear them down until you can. I guess the idea is that they're like terrorizing the region or something.
Yeah, there's like two. There's like Alpha or something that begins with an A, like aggressive Pokemon, and then there's the noble Pokemon, and exactly what you were saying. There's like a pre-Pokemon battle aspect where, as the human, you have to do things to weaken them to a point, and then you can actually traditionally battle them a bit, and then you could have a chance at catching them. So that seems cool. Like the actual like core gameplay of what they've changed, like being able to still do the battles, but having the attack style or the power style or the speed style. I like that. I like that change. Being able to move around the world, being able to do the dodge roll, the humans being able to do more stuff. I think that's all interesting, and I like that. I'm just talking about literally the plot, because even if a game has decent gameplay, it's hard for me to stay engaged long enough if I don't find the plot compelling, and that's where I get into this game and it's like collectathon, like it's just the collectathon there. I think I'm gonna bounce real hard. But who knows? Once I get my hands on it, maybe I'll change my mind, because there's other games like Red Dead Redemption 2. I was not sure I was gonna dig its pacing and stuff like that, but I ended up getting really hooked during my rental period, and I ended up buying it like 2 months later when it came out on PC. So,
Well,
see.
I'm gonna make a wild prediction and say that the plot of Pokemon Legends Arceus will not be as involved as the plot of Red Dead Redemption 2. Call me
Well, yeah,
crazy. That's my prediction.
yes, I think you will be correct on that. Um,
Um, but I'll wait and see what you have to say about it. I know you're the one renting it, so
yeah,
I'll hear your opinion on it.
yeah.
Uh,
We'll
I
same.
I have other stuff I'm playing right now, so
Yeah,
even if
same,
it does hit
same.
my list, it's not gonna enter my collection anytime soon.
Now, we didn't say it at the start, but I think we're done talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus, and that should be out on January 28th this year. That is the current date. So,
Yes,
and
yes.
this episode should be out on the, looking at my calendar here, the 29th. So yeah, it'll be that weekend. So it'll be hot. For that. Ooh, open. Come on. Yeah. And that's my only January game. Like I said, that was it for me. So I don't know if you had something in January.
That was the only one for me. There isn't that much coming out in January. I mean, that's pretty normal though.
No, because everything's coming out in February. So I don't know about you, Ed, but we can start by saying the game of February. Well, okay, there's two the games of February, but there's one that, as far as I understand, the entire internet's talking about, and then there's the other one that a large portion of the internet is talking about. You already
So
know
I,
it.
d- I, d- I don't know which one you're saying is which, but I think the two games you're talking about are Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring, right?
That's correct. Good
I don't know
guesses.
I don't know which one you're saying is the more popular one. I think probably Forbidden West has broader appeal than Elden Ring, but I think popular.
Oop, you broke up a little bit. Can you repeat that?
I think Horizon Forbidden West probably has broader appeal than Elden Ring, but I think they're both very popular.
Elden Ring, I was saying Elden Ring was the more popular one because that is multi-platform, whereas for Horizon Forbidden West will be exclusive to PlayStation platforms. So, I think that I don't know how the appeal would be there, but considering how big Dark Souls has been, I think Elden Ring's the bigger one, and just by the fact that Elden Ring will be on all three platforms day in day one, and by three platforms I mean Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. Who knows? Maybe there's a Switch cloud version coming. I don't know. uh, but yeah, Elden Ring, which is coming out on February 25th. So, like Sekiro is the only game I played and beat, in the Souls series and including Bloodborne. I I don't know, but I look at it and I just like I know it's open world. I am gonna get it on PC so I can just mod my character to have infinite stamina, so I can just take care of the one thing that is seems to be my issue with FromSoft games. So I think that might be it. Because for those, I'll just repeat for any of our new listeners here. I What I've identified thanks to beating Sekiro is that if I have a general stamina bar for my character, that seems to be my problem. Like the sword parrying thing didn't matter because I got good at parrying and I played the game the way the game wanted me to play and I was able to get through it. But whenever like my rolling and dodging and attacking and everything draws from like one bar and starts, limiting my options over time, that seems to be my Achilles heel for playing these games. I say that half jokingly as well, but I'm really interested, and I think like I'm really curious. So I think I'll just buy it, and I'm just gonna play it and enjoy it. And also, I'm hoping I got a cousin who's super big into it, so he might want to co-op, and I got some other friends that might be willing to co-op it, and we'll see if that ends up being a bunch of fun. So it might be something I just hop on and do a couple of runs on and just mess around with and make it like a multiplayer game for myself rather than just single player.
Yeah, so I'm probably not gonna play Elden Ring. I haven't played any other From Software game.
Hmm.
I think they're just a little bit too hardcore
Yeah.
for me. Um, the trailers I saw look amazing. Like the art looks so cool. The
Hmm.
world like I don't know. Uh, I might Elden Ring is the one that who knows? I'm gonna have to like see what the general discourse on it is. Maybe I'd give it a try, but I don't know if I have enough confidence and I'm gonna enjoy it.
Hmm.
But maybe you keep telling me to get GameFly, and maybe this is
Keep
one I
telling
need
you,
to
man.
rent. Maybe this is one I need to rent.
Maybe they'll do a demo for it as well, or they'll put out some sort of thing. Who knows? Hopefully, it'd be nice. They did that technical test, and they could do that again. Just put a little small section of the game in there, but we'll see. Um, but yes, the other game. Oh yeah. So I'll just repeat: Elden Ring, February 25th, and then the next game, as you were mentioning, Horizon Forbidden West, which is the second Horizon game on and that one is currently scheduled for February 18th.
Mhm.
That game I am just super excited for. I love the first one. I think the second one's going to be more fun. They've just shown off basically like new tools and gear, and they've upgraded traversal and made it a little less samey looking in terms of like your climbing points and whatnot, and giving you some more traversal tools. I think they've played this one pretty close to the chest. I'm hoping that means that there's just more secrets in there to discover, that they're like, yeah, we're not really just gonna spoil everything about what the game is. It's more of what you love plus some new stuff in there. So I hope it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, I did not play the first one. That, uh, I probably won't end up playing that one. I kind of have over the years been tired of open world games.
Mhm.
Um, particularly ones where like, well, I mean, this is a lot of them where you have to like uncover parts of the map and do like the formula is a little old to me. It's tough for me to want to play. Like, I think Ghost of Tsushima looked good, but like I'm not dying to go out and play a bunch of open games. I uh I had been finally playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we'll we'll be talking about that soon in a later episode.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I have loved how like linear it is. There's a little room to like deviate, do some side content, but for the most part, it's just like let's keep going forward. I I appreciate that. I
Mhm.
it, it
Mhm.
it feels it feels like there's less bloat to deal with, but
Mhm.
that could be arguable from that plot. But
Mhm.
but in general, I kind of like how streamlined a linear game is open world, which is where I am not so excited for Rise.
Yeah. Linear stuff helps a lot with pacing and controlling stuff.
It looks really cool. Same thing as Elden Ring. Like it looks amazing. I think the art and all the designs are really cool. Um, but I don't think it's gonna be my kind of game.
Sure. Sure.
At least not the kind of game that I'm into at this point in my lifetime.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So then an indie game. This one has been around in the PlayStation news cycles, but it's been pushed back a little bit. Sifu, and I don't know if you recall what that game is, Ed. Before I describe it.
Yeah, it's is it kind of like that martial arts kind of beat 'em up game or something? I don't know if you would call it a beat 'em up, but
Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot of like hand to hand combat in it, right?
yeah. I would say it qualifies as like a modern style beat 'em up because it is. You're playing as one character and you're fighting a bunch of other dudes, and the gameplay is based on combat. What the main conceit is that your main character has been given a medallion that every time he dies, he can come back to life, but you age a little bit. So basically, you just want to not die enough times to complete your revenge mission without actually spending all of the years off your life resurrecting. So that sounds pretty cool. It's probably, going to be a short game, and I love melee action games. So I'm excited to try it. It looks like it's got some good dynamic combat. I hope it holds up. The trailers show the promise by it being a bit of a smaller title and more focused on providing that more dynamic action scenes and things like choreographed scenes you'd see in movies. So I'm looking forward to that. That's currently scheduled for February 8th. And then the other game that I'm looking forward to in February, this is just a fighting game. King of Fighters 15 is coming out on February 17th. It's going to have rollback netcode. There's going to be 39 characters at launch. That's great. King of Fighters is not one of my most favorite series, but my friends really like it. And with this having rollback netcode for the first time and being good online, it's going to be on all the platforms. I don't know if it's going to have crossplay. I can't remember that, but I'll buy it for Steam day one. I'm gonna actually learn how to play some King of Fighters, get like a set of characters I like. There's some really cool new characters too, and some old characters that I'm used to that I'm looking forward to playing, and just trying to see if I can create a good team and actually learn how to play King of Fighters properly. Plus, there's some new mechanics. I'm just excited. It's good that fighting games are coming out, especially Japanese fighting games coming out with rollback netcode day one, and just that's gonna be fun. Hopefully, there's no other major issues there, and yeah, I'll mess around with that online and play with some friends.
Yeah, I'm happy that there's another game sports back. Hopefully that's part of a trend. Um,
Slowly but surely.
do, I guess we're just moving on to March then. I guess I didn't want to speak off topic, but do we know if Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is getting rollback?
Ooh, I was gonna bring that up because that's supposed to be coming out in March 17th. So that's a good
Well, I
segue,
guess
actually.
yeah, we're in March then.
Just wanted to check. Was there any other February games for you?
No, nothing else for me.
Okay. So yeah, the re-release of Persona 4 Ultimax Arena or Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Um, no, right now it is not launching with netcode and rollback netcode, and the developers have put out an official statement saying that they're looking into possibly adding rollback netcode into the future, which basically means like they don't wanna, and they're like, or so either they don't want to, and people are fighting internally to get it, or they want to, and they're not being given the money to do it because it's basically a straight up port. And Sega already was kind of weird when they were re-releasing Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, which is basically a re-release of Virtua Fighter 5. Now they did some work to it, like they overhauled the models and stuff like that, and then they put it into they ported it to PS4, and they made it a PS Plus exclusive, and put it out for free for the month, and then they were just selling some cosmetic DLC. They've put out official statements that they had either somewhere between like 6 and 8 million downloads, and they had a lot more people buy the costume DLC than they anticipated. So they were very excited about the performance, and they're looking forward to creating another Virtua Fighter project at some point. But it did not launch with rollback netcode. They created some sort of weird system where they were. I don't want to even.
Was that the one with Blitznet code?
Yes,
Was that something else?
Blitz netcode. Yeah.
I don't know what that
Oh
is, but
no
it
no
does.
no! People make the joke of like Blitz netcode, but a different game coined that phrase.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
but
So that wasn't Virtua Fighter 5 that coined
no,
that one.
but people were calling this like Blitz netcode because it's like promising. It's always, these companies are always trying to just repackage the marketing of delay based netcode to make it sound like it's better, but they just end up doing it half-heartedly, and it's always some sort of weird delay-based thing with like servers mixed in, and then the servers break and stuff doesn't work, and it's just never as good as even when rollback netcode only works half the time. Like Street Fighter V has rollback netcode, but it's poorly implemented, so sometimes you get one side of rollback where one person's getting the intended experience and the other person's getting like a bad experience, and either their inputs aren't coming through or whatnot. So it's something that Sony has Capcom has tried to fix in the past, and they did issue a patch, and it seemed to have fixed it a little bit, but whatever the issue was, they just couldn't fix it, or refused to spend the money to fix it and do what they had to do to get it right. Now, the only example we have of a game really putting in the time and effort to get it right after a launch was NetherRealm Studios with Mortal Kombat X, where the game launched without rollback netcode, and then what was it? They did some DLC, and I think it took them about 9 months, and then they put out the Mortal Kombat. They relaunched the game with some sort of addition, and they did a huge patch, and it added in rollback netcode. So it's not easy to always do it, and it's not cheap. Like if your game wasn't designed with it from the start, it can require a full rebuild of the game. And NetherRealm Studios isn't a small studio. Like they're also funded by WB, and they're the people who make Mortal Kombat. So like they can get what they want, and I'm sure they paid for a lot of it themselves. I'm gonna guess that WB was like, well, we'll half and half, go half and half with you. That's my guess. It's completely me pulling that out of my butt. So nobody take that number seriously. But yeah, it's not easy, and Arc System Works is a smaller team. Sega does have money, but they are a smaller publisher at this point, despite their more recent resurgence with the success of Judgment and Yakuza and Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. And I feel like different one. Oh, and Phantasy Star Online 2 and New Genesis launching in the US, and yeah, so Sega's kind of making a comeback, and they're pushing for more PC stuff, so their games are more available and reaching a bigger audience. But still, it's not a cheap endeavor, and if the studios aren't big enough, it can be tough. So yeah,
It's just hard to make excuses for publishers when like modders can put rollback netcode in like a game like Melee. Like if I feel like if that can be done, then you know shouldn't all this be possible? But
so
maybe that's easy. I am certainly no programmer, at least not in this kind of stuff. So I don't know how hard it.
So yeah, so the thing is actually what you're pointing out is that while fans definitely are capable of doing the work, the point the reason why Melee was able to be modded with it was because of the way the game handled the special smash rules for double speed gameplay. So the game could support like really high. I forget exactly what it was, but the speed of the game could run higher than what it normally does, and it like because of the way that worked, someone was able to realize, oh, you could totally input, you could totally apply rollback netcode to the game because of the way the game is already built with an engine that could support it. So that's the thing is like I don't know a ton. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there that explain it way better and go into the technical aspects of it. Because part of it is like you have to sync up the two players, and that's part of the issue is if you don't sync up the players correctly for the rollback, it can that's where you get like the one-sided because then one
Mhm.
person's getting it properly, the other person's not, and you need to make sure you're checking that sync between the two people. So I guess yeah, Melee already its engine was already kind of capable of rollback, whereas like other games with delay that are delay based, they're not built to support rollback. Your game has to have rollback as part of the architecture of the game in order to run properly. So it is like a huge undertaking. There's been some new stuff. Just one last thing on the rollback is there are some. I think it was a Switch emulator. They're able to put into the emulator some sort of rollback netcode solution on top of the games inside the emulator, but not inside the games. Like they're not patching Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and the one other big example was Samurai Showdown, the newer Samurai Showdown, is that these games can now run with rollback netcode, but it's like an emulation layer, and then the game takes advantage of that emulation layer inside the emulator to function better. So it's not like people can't do this and there aren't like workarounds or there aren't multiple ways to do this, but it still takes a lot of work. And these are people doing it in their free time who are passionate and care. And think about it this way: if those people were getting developer salaries, like that's still them being paid to do something, and developers might go, well, it's not worth the couple months that it took you to figure that out to us because then we're not getting a return to it. Like I'm sure they want to like charge people for the patches if that was their deal. Like, hey, whoever wants it, but that's not the way it can work because you need everyone to get it, and if everyone doesn't buy it, then people don't understand why it matters, and they don't want to give it away for free because it costs so much that they feel like, oh, it's not gonna matter when we do it. But and here's the thing, also that we keep harping back to, these companies also don't care if it's a little profit. Like say they do it and they can either break even or be a little bit profitable, it's like they want 5x profit from whatever investment they make or else it's not worth it to them, and that's a stupid philosophy when in what you're doing is engendering goodwill so your future games that will then already be set up to work well get people hyped and new people then come in and buy that next product that you're already doing, so or are getting ready to make. Like it pays forward, and these companies are just so short-sighted, especially the Japanese companies. Like some of the Western ones, it's not as big a deal. They kind of get it because it's been around long enough. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, maybe they should just like sell NFTs or something. Uh, Whoever
Anyways,
that.
we're gonna be. Well,
So
you know
my
what? I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends up having NFTs, considering all the memes that have gone around. Because the next game I was going to mention for March that I was looking forward to, is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy, currently scheduled for March 22nd, and that's the Final Fantasy game that's basically a remake of Final Fantasy One, and it's being made by Koei Tecmo, this in their Team Ninja, I think it is, the ones who make Neo, the Souls like
Mm,
samurai
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
So
This is a
uh,
Final Fantasy Soul.
they kind of yes, kind of no, but yes, yeah, yeah, it's similar. Um, but they're bringing a lot more Final Fantasy stuff to it. Like you have a party. There will be like co-op and stuff. There's going to be like a full like Final Fantasy level style story. And then you get more like skills and stuff than you normally would get in in Souls, or you're not as limited. Like you can switch between a bunch of stuff. There's been the 2 technical tests. I played the first one. I talked a little bit about that on the podcast. The second one I meant to play, you and I, because they're at co-op. We talked about it, but we just never sat down and did it. So I'm gonna rent that. I'm hoping that they fixed all the performance issues. I was liking what I was playing. My cousin who likes Souls games said it played like trash and he didn't really like it. And I don't know. I feel like maybe after a second chance, but it's one of those things where you like a style of game, but if it doesn't play exactly that way, it's just not the same. So
Yeah, you wonder what audience they're going for. Are they going for Final Fantasy game fans, or are they going for like Souls fans who just want a similar game?
I think they're
'Cause
going.
I don't know how much overlap there is.
I think they're
There's
trying to
probably
get.
some.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's definitely a lot of overlap because there's action RPG fans. Like that's what it is. But what flavor do you like your action RPG?
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to grab all their Final Fantasy fans plus some Dark Souls fans. And I don't know how well that's going to work because I don't think a lot of Final Fantasy, like core Final Fantasy fans, play the games for the challenge. They play it for the story. So the story's got to be there. And then people who play Dark Souls don't play Dark Souls. Well, okay, I don't want to sell them short. They like the format of the Dark Souls lore, but they also like the gameplay. So if it doesn't feel tight and challenging in a certain way, it's like how my cousin was saying, then it may fumble there is like it doesn't play the way I want it to exactly, or it's too easy, or I don't care for this story. So there might be people who bounce there. So uh, they're making a gamble. I'm on board. I'm gonna rent it first and try it because once again, I want to buy it on Steam. But if I can't, I might settle for PS5 if I really like it. But we'll see how it goes. I was enjoying what I played before, despite it being rough, and I just want them to fix some of the edges there. Um, and speaking of edge, boy, is that game just nothing but an edge lord's wet dream. So we'll see. But yeah, what were your? Are you thinking you'll try that one, or you think you're gonna skip it while and just wait for
I don't
16?
I don't think I'll end up trying it.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, well, if I'm honest, no, I'm probably not gonna try it.
Okay. Okay. Next game, or last game for me within March is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the Borderlands game spinoff, and that's currently scheduled for March 25th. Yeah, I'm a really big fan of Borderlands. I think this spinoff, this like two meta layer game of like these video game characters playing a tabletop game and making a video game out of that and being able to use that as an excuse to do some weird stuff. It looks fun. I don't know if I'm burnt out on the formula. Once again, I really got to rent it and give it a try and see if I'm still in it. If it does enough different. But there were things about the Borderlands formula I started getting that rubbed me the wrong way. It took me a while to play 3, but there was so much content and I co-opted through it that it's like some of it's good and some of it's not. So I hope that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands does enough stuff different that's engaging. I still wish that game was actually in third person instead of first. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a toggle for this one because there is some like third person, like weird board game stuff in there that might be kind of interesting. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
I saw the trailer. What didn't they show it at the Game Awards?
They did.
The trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get what it was.
It's a first
Um.
person shooter looter.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, just like other Borderlands stuff.
It's not a different style of game than the other Borderlands. It's just focusing on different characters.
Yes, and it seems to be mixing in some other gameplay elements, so it will play a little bit differently, but it's still a first-person shooter,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
looting-driven game
Okay.
with four-player drop-in, drop-out co-op and a campaign.
Yeah, that's probably not one. I think I played like some of the first Borderlands like years ago
Hmm.
on when I was playing on PC, and it wasn't too interesting. I didn't do much.
Those games can be a little rough on your own. I think they're still fun enough. Just the humor has always resonated with me for the most part. It's hit more than it misses, but at the same time,
I was gonna say I think that's hit or miss for most people. Some people hate it.
yeah, there's a growing number of people have hated it, but I think it's one of those things where that's what a humor is. It either does or doesn't work for you, and that can make a whole difference of it. So for me, it's hit more than it's missed. Um, and I'm excited. And I like the idea of like the drop in, drop out co-op. I still have fond memories of playing with my family
Yeah,
and friends with it.
co-op is seems like a fun feature to have.
Yeah. That's it for me with March games. What about for you?
The one March game that I'm really looking forward to is Triangle Strategy for the
Mm.
Switch. That formerly known as Project Triangle Strategy.
Yeah, right.
They settled on the brilliant name of Triangle Strategy, which um, I don't care. People like to hate on names for games. Like at the end of the day, like the Wii is beloved, so we all know how that turned out. It seems like the name doesn't always matter that much. It is a silly name though.
It's a bit
But
weird, but I think it's fine.
yeah, but I have liked. I think I mentioned before on the podcast that I like Fire Emblem Three Houses. Enjoyed that tactical
Mm.
RPG style gameplay. I want to try something different. Triangle Strategy. I did play some of the demo last year. It definitely is a different. It has different mechanics, so I think that's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
Uh, this is one where like I'm pretty sure performance will be okay because like how could it not be? It's not like it's that intense of a graphical style, but I'm still gonna wait on principle see how it turns out. But I will probably be picking that up with.
Okay. Did you play any of Octopath Traveler?
No, I didn't. I didn't play any of Octopath Traveler. I heard that the story was kind of weak and that it was kind of weird like jumping around between 8 different characters. Um, but I also heard that the gameplay in it was particularly good. People the turn-based that was probably strong story.
I get you. I get you.
I didn't play Bravely Default 2 either. I think that's by the same team as
I don't.
Octopath Traveler.
I don't know actually.
I think it is, but
Because
don't quote me on it.
yeah, well, I'm just because Octopath is the other like HD 2D art style game, and Triangle Strategy is the next one using HD
I
2D.
love I love the way it looks.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. Is I was curious if you actually like the art style, or if you could take it or leave it, and you just want yourself a new turn-based tactical game.
No, I like the art style a lot. I think it's cool. I actually I was reading they tweeted out all the improvements they made based on survey feedback.
Yeah.
And I saw one comment about one thing that they didn't change that now that they mention it, I hope they do include it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone had said that they really wanted them to include character portraits beside the dialogue, so you're not just looking at like little sprites on the board talking. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought about myself, but I totally agree with that. They'd even just have it like Fire Emblem does this next to the dialogue block box. They have the character portraits that change
Yeah.
based on like the mood of the emotion of the line that they're reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they include that. Um, but it did sound like they made a ton of improvements, which is good. So it's um, but the reason I mentioned that is because you asked about the graphical style. Like I like the way it looks, but I don't know how well the story's gonna be in that. And I do think like not having actual character models with facial expression might hurt my immersion in that story.
Mm.
I'm gonna wait and see, but I'm pretty excited for it. I think it will scratch an itch that I hit.
Okay. Now I don't have any games listed for April. Did you?
No, but I think we're probably both thinking of one of the same May games.
So before we get to May, I thought of a few other games that are just like nebulous in 2022 that I figure I'd just throw out a little mention to fill for that April slot. Um, Sonic Frontiers, I'm keeping an eye on. That has a nondescript 2022 date right now. That's supposed to be something of like an open world Sonic the Hedgehog game. Um, we'll see how it goes. I have played some Sonic fan games that have experimented with much more open world stages or like 3D style gameplay that's like sticking to the 3D rather than trying to do the 2D 3D hybrid thing that like Sonic Generations and Sonic Unleashed messed around with. And some of the results I've found really good and just want to see Sonic officially games get that attention, and the other extent, it's just it's tough. But I think that Sonic 3D just requires a certain level of a focus to it. And in my opinion, and I believe I stated this in one of our previous episodes, was I think they just need to start designing Sonic stages like they would a racing game. Design those like racing tracks where it's very very focused, with just hazards along things and maybe some enemies, and then that'll work better for 3D rather than do that. And then you also have the 2D version of which is fine because like Sonic Mania and Sonic Mania Plus are great, and I hope that they'll do something. I'd love to see them like continue Sonic Rush and bring that to like a 2D console level thing, and I think that worked out really well on the DS. I like Sonic Rush 1 more than I like Rush Adventure, which is what the sequel was titled. I think Blaze the Cat is a great secondary foil to Sonic for that in terms of like speedster gameplay. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. I'm looking forward. Well, I'm not looking forward, but I'm keeping an eye on this. Babylon's Fall is supposedly the next games of service game from Square Enix, paying Platinum Games to do it. Platinum Games seems to always struggle when it comes to multiplayer games. Like Anarchy Reigns was pretty decent, but it wasn't like a big service game. But even then, Sega didn't properly market it well. It got a very limited release, and it was. I don't think it was the right time, right place, right time. Scalebound was also supposed to have big multiplayer stuff, and it just didn't seem to work. And I think Platinum is just constantly stretching itself too thin with some of these projects. I understand uh, they got to stay in business, but I don't know. I don't know if it was their idea or if it was Square's idea to be like, hey, can you make us a games of service game with your gameplay? It's had some really rough reception. Apparently, they're tweaking it based on their closed beta they had a couple months ago. So I'm keeping an eye on it. If they can make a successfully playing, or just a feel good platinum action game that also I can play with friends, I'm totally down for it. I'm not really into the whole looting aspect, but something I can just jump in with some friends and beat up some bad guys, and it feels good for all of us. Like that's kind of what Avengers did. Avengers isn't quite as tight as a platinum game, but it was close enough that I would go, you want a modern beat 'em up that you and friends can just kind of jump into and play and mess around with? Like Avengers still works, man. I know it's got its jank, but it all those characters feel fun to play as, honestly, when you get in there. So that's another one. Um, and I'm
Were
just
tho
gonna.
were both of those kinda given a first half of the year release window, or do we know nothing about
Babylon's Fall is
budget?
supposed to be March.
Okay,
Sonic
okay,
doesn't.
just doesn't have a release date yet.
Yeah, Sonic doesn't have anything. And also, I was gonna mention Ghostwire Tokyo. I That's a new game from Bethesda. That's the last Bethesda game that's probably gonna be like on Sony consoles before Xbox's acquisition of Bethesda Studios fully like takes in all those games. And actually, I forget which studio because it's not like exactly Bethesda. I think it's the 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 studio responsible for the Evil Within, which is part of Bethesda. So that one also I think just has a nondescript 2022 date as well. But that one looks really fun. Or that Yeah, I'm all about it. I really am excited to that. So that's kind of filling in for April. But yes, Ed, you go off on this one for May.
Uh, so this is one that, like, when I first saw it, like, the teaser
Hmm.
at way back when the PS5 was revealed, and it was called Project Athia or
Yep.
Athia?
Yep.
What is that? Was it an Athia?
I think Athia.
Yeah, so I thought it looked cool then, but, like, all you really got was a character, like, leaping over mountains and doing magic.
Yeah.
How could that not look cool?
And you could tell she was wearing sneakers.
I never noticed that,
I
so
noticed it.
I didn't notice that. So for when they actually went more in depth and gave it a name, Forspoken,
Mm-hmm.
that's the game we're talking about, Forspoken.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Currently
I
planned to come out on May 24th.
So if you noticed the sneakers, you must have had more of an idea that it was kind of, going that isekai route than I did.
It,
Was that your guess when you first saw those sneakers?
no, I was thinking post-apocalyptic world with modern world with magic,
Oh, okay.
which it's still, well, it's not really that, but then again, it could still swerve. But yeah, it seems to be isekai, and for
Yeah,
the
and that's where I'm like kind of on the edge of I don't know if I love that concept, and some of the dialogue that I've heard seems kind of silly, but I think the gameplay looks cool, and I think you know doing these large scale magic spells really cool.
do you like Chronicles of Narnia?
I think I like read it when I was a kid, but not really.
Darn it, because I was gonna try and catch you and be like, "That's an isekai." Those kids go through the wardrobe and end up in a magical land. That's totally an isekai. But
Yeah,
that's me being a
yeah.
little
It
facetious.
no, it really is. You're totally right.
Do you
I
like
did.
Digimon?
No.
Darn it. I was.
So that's yeah. I
I
don't
got.
know if I love. It looks cool.
I got one
I
other
will
joke for
probably
the bit.
play it.
Hang on,
Okay,
one other
what's the
joke for the
bit?
bit,
Go
because
ahead.
you do like Metal Gear Solid, right?
I have only played parts of certain games, so I
Parts of
can't
certain.
really say.
Okay. Do you like Metal Gear Acid?
Haven't played it.
Okay, I think that was the one with the VR mission. I forget. 'Cause that once again, and I'm just being facetious, but yeah, I was trying to catch you and be like, you do like isekai. It's a thing where they're playing in a game, and yeah, no, yeah, I honestly think like isekai is just like a setup for
Does
fish out of
does
water. That's all it is.
does Futurama count as an isekai, where it's frozen for 1,000 years and ends up in the future and the world's totally different, except not really because he's still a delivery boy?
No, so technically no, because isekai, I'd have to double check the exact like colloquial meaning for isekai, but from my understanding, it's supposed to be like someone from modern world gets pulled into either digital or fantasy world. Um,
Okay.
Whereas with Futurama, it's technically more just sci-fi because it can be sci-fi more based on the means of which that person gets transported. So like um with Futurama, Fry just gets frozen for 3,000 years, 300 years,
1,000 years.
1,000 years.
He gets frozen on the year in the year 2000, wakes up at the year 3000.
Okay, so he's technically just time traveled forward, and then he's just seeing what the future came from, which is a fish out of water style story. But he's not taken to necessarily a different world, even though it's basically like it's a whole different world. So, like I said, it's a technicality, but I don't think it counts because he wasn't displaced like someplace that isn't Earth. It's still
Yeah,
Earth.
I'm mostly kidding.
Yeah.
I love that we're having the conversation whether or not Futurama is an isekai.
We have to
But
go. There's probably a YouTube panel where they like, is Futurama isekai, and it's probably some fan theory of like, well, yes, technically everything's taking place inside a fantasy realm, and then there's the guy who's like, no, no, no. It's like, yeah, we'll have to Google that and see if that's out there.
is the Matrix an isekai? No.
Ooh, um, I think it's the I think once again
it's like the reverse isekai.
it is. I think yes. I think it's once again like technically no, but also yes, because of that virtual real displacement thing and like the nature of it. It's definitely sci-fi. But yeah, I think that those are both really good questions actually. So I think, but I think the answer is technically no.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm not sold on it, but I think I will play it, assuming it, you know, gets decent reception, and
Yeah.
I it looks like it'll be fun to play. I want to keep an open mind. I had initially really was negative on it, and part of that was just me teasing you about how like isekai is dumb, but like it looks cool. I mean, tell me your impression of it. I think you're really excited for it, right?
I'm really excited. Isekai does not bother me at all because that's just a trope for getting you into a spot, into a place, and then the rest of the story is the hero compelling. Is that and how do they react to fish out of water stuff? And I think it looks pretty neat. What's really compelling me is like the gameplay, the open world, fast traversal plus using magic. Anything that lets me use magic, I'm pretty much super psyched for. It looks like they haven't really gone off on the marketing, in my opinion, yet. But from the stuff I was managed to dig up, they did some gameplay demonstrations, and the big conceit, besides like your traversal stuff, is magic mixing and matching to create different types of spell effects. So you'll use the bracelets, which are sentient or semi-sentient being, um, helping the main character Frey, and you'll be able to like combine like an earth spell and a fire spell to get like a certain type of effect and do things like that on the fly to fight enemies on top of like your basic magic blasts and stuff like that. So game looks really pretty. I think the traversals looks like it's going to be tons of fun. That world looks like it's probably going to be tons of fun. It's it's basically like an alternate type of Final Fantasy. I feel like once again like, oh, they're calling it Forspoken, but really they're making a Final Fantasy spinoff. That is what it is, and it's being made by the
I
team that made Final Fantasy 15.
I thought I thought the graphics looked okay. I hope it looks like I thought the character models were kind of rough. Like some of them reminded me of like the NPC character models in Final Fantasy 7 remake where like they do a really good job with the core characters, but a lot of like the
Mm,
peripheral NPCs, they don't look they just kind of look off. Like some of the facial features and the skin quality and of the characters in Forspoken didn't look that great to me.
but
But it
of
was
the
also
main
but yeah, of the main character, yeah, I didn't think it looked as good as I wanted.
No, sorry, I was trying to clarify. Like you felt like the main characters feel like
Yes,
there's as
yeah, I
detailed
felt
as
like the
side characters.
main characters, and it looked like some, like whatever royalty she was speaking to that was
Mm,
like that I thought those looked a little off. But I think,
yeah,
they have 6 months to work on it. So I don't want to pass judgment
yeah.
yet.
Try
But
another thing too is like I've recently learned is like the streamings because I think we've only seen you and me I think we watched a couple trailers from the events and stuff. If you try looking up the standalone trailers and watching them at like 4K or something, try pulling up one of the trailers on like your smart TV's YouTube app and watching it and see if it looks better, noticeably better if you can get it at full resolution. Because even if it streams higher than 1080, like might maybe it'll look better. At the same time, I think there is some stylization. Like it is stylized realism. It's the same thing with like Last of Us. Like they look closer to real people, but they're not real people. There's still like some smooth edges and stuff like that, and lighting's not perfect. They're still beautiful games, and I still believe them. Like I think I could meet that person on the street when in terms of like, yeah, that looks like a real human being. But there's always, there's always some filters and things like that. Or you're dealing with fantasy characters where magic's involved, so these people are not quite real. But yeah, no, I'm fully confident. I'd say take another look and see if there's anything else. But either way, like
yeah,
there's gonna be more
you're
information in a
totally
couple
right though.
months.
I only watched it on stream, which is probably not the highest fidelity. So
And I
you're right.
lock, yeah,
You're right.
I lock things at 720 60 on streams just so that way I keep my bandwidth as stable as possible for at least getting the information because I don't care because if I really I kind of just give it the leeway on the resolution and if the frame rate's stable and then I can always go back and check the other stuff later and rewatch the trailers if it really caught my eye. But then always look for demos and other things and as long as it looks fun, I don't really the graphics I can give uh, I can kind of get past some of the graphics, some of the visuals. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I stopped using the
I
G word.
mean, nah, that's not a deal. Though if it looks like it did when I watched it on stream, that's not a deal breaker for
Mhm.
me. But I like I especially now that it's, if it's a next gen exclusive, I want it to look pretty.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to like say that graphics are everything, but they definitely, a good art style and detailed graphics definitely enhance my enjoyment of the game.
Yeah. And I'm excited because Square Enix is putting that out on Steam day and day one. It's not one of the Epic exclusive games like they've done for a couple of the other horror franchises. We can blame them for hurting Neo,
I
The World Ends with You. Oh,
I think that is? I think it's because they use Unreal Engine, so they probably get some like break on the royalties for the games they use Unreal Engine for.
that's actually a really good point
And they're using Luminous Engine for
for
Forspoken.
Forspoken. Yeah, you're right.
Uh,
You're right.
and I think the way Unreal Engine works is like there's no cost up front, but you have to pay royalties on your sales.
Yeah.
So they're probably getting a more favorable rate. That's my hypothesis.
No, you're probably right. They get extra money and also a discount on that return, probably. Oh, but we'll let's use that because I think after May, I do have one game in June. Do you have any games in June?
No, um, to be honest, like you're talking about all these games you're excited about. I've only seen like Pokemon, Triangle Strategy, and Forspoken are pretty much
Hmm.
all that has all that I'm interested in that actually has a firm release date,
I
or at
know you.
least something like that.
I know you're excited for the game I'm gonna shout out for this June as well. The second game, but but I know you're gonna. I know you like this game because you've been bugging me to play it, and it's not that I don't want to play it, but uh, Neo: The World Ends with You should be coming to Steam in June because then it'll be 6 months to it. Or
Want to
was
be
it
July? Want to be July?
Shoot,
I
it
think
will be July.
it was July 27th
You're
last year. I
right.
think was the yeah.
Boo. Boo, Square Enix and Epic Games Store. Boo. Anyways, so hopefully when Neo: The World Ends with You comes out next year on Steam, as it should, then there will be an explosion of sales, and maybe that'll also cause people to reevaluate, or cause Square Enix to reevaluate that series. Although, I mean, you beat it. Do you really feel like it needs a sequel, or did it like have a cliffhanger, or do you think like,
They left it open.
okay,
They left it open. They could make a sequel for it. There's
yeah,
still unfinished business.
I can't wait to see where it goes because I'm really feeling like there's definitely places you can go, but I feel like the whole Shibuya aspect is so central to it. I'm like, how much can you really do in here? But then again, I'm the dum dum who says that, and the Yakuza series has literally taken place in like a city block, apparently for over like 20 years at this point. So I'm the dum dum. So there's probably a lot they can do. Um,
There was also there's like other stuff going on in other parts of Tokyo or
oh,
um
okay, okay,
in
it's
in
getting
the
bigger.
like I don't want to talk about
That's fine.
anything.
Yeah.
There's like it's not just stuff didn't just happen in Shibuya.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I will.
So
I still look forward to playing it.
they could certainly take it other places. Um but it is their iconic location.
I
There's other stuff going on.
When I get to it, I will either buy it on PS4 or I will buy it on Steam, depending on whatever comes first. But as you can tell, there's only a couple games this year that I'm really going to be playing a bunch of, and that could still end up carrying me to July. And also, by that time, we'll have whatever E3 announcements are going to happen, so that my back half of my list is probably going to fill up, and then start the 2023 list. So, my one game that was definitively in June is Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course. Which it just occurred to me that those initials are for DLC.
It's
DLC.
DLC, yeah.
So I have played a little bit of Cuphead 1, but I didn't buy it because by the time I was ready to play it, the DLC got announced and I was hoping it was sooner, and it didn't. So I was just waiting because either I didn't know if it was going to be the sequel, and I totally would have bought the first one and then played the second one. But now I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to buy Cuphead Delicious Last Course, which is currently scheduled for June 30th, and I'm totally gonna commit to like playing and trying to beat Cuphead. Like, I know it's a challenging game, I understand that. I'm just gonna do like I did with Dark Souls 1. I'm gonna go in with a open mind, play it. There's plenty of like videos and tutorials and things out there for helping people understand what you're supposed to do in a fight, and I'm gonna put my time in there and try and beat it and try to actually beat it. And yeah, I might co-op it a little bit, although I heard that co-oping isn't actually always the best because you kind of get in each other's way. But we'll see. I'm open to it. I really like the art style. I want to support that game, and I am excited to buy that game and play through it and see how far I get. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a little for the difficulty would be too much for me. But I'll watch the Netflix show. So
oh yeah. Hopefully
that's
that's
all
good too.
I'll support it.
Um, yeah. Still no follow up date on that. But yeah. After that, July, August, September, and October for me are completely blank. Anything sitting in those spots for you right now, Ed?
Has there been anything that's been given a solid release date or even like a month for the latter half of next year?
Not that I know of.
I I don't I mean,
Nothing that comes off the top of my head. And I really kind of only keep that. I could go through my Steam wish list and maybe look for some stuff. I've wish listed a bunch of things on there that might be coming out. So, because I only got one more game on my list then. So actually, I will pull up my Steam list and just kind of look at the wish list there and see if there's anything that pops out just to give a little shout out to some of the stuff. I don't know if you wanted to fill time while I'm doing that.
Well, I wanted to talk about a few things that
Go right
have
ahead.
some like rumors behind them
Sure,
that
sure.
that maybe might happen.
Do it.
I can mention those briefly. I It seems like it's time, and it's time for it. And it's been rumored that there'll be a new Fire Emblem entry, and I think the suggestion is it's going to be an Echoes entry,
Mhm,
where there was Fire Emblem Echoes back on 3DS was think it was a remake of, like, the 2nd game. I don't quote me on that. It was a remake of, like, an early Fire Emblem. I think the rumor is that they were gonna remake another one.
mhm.
Probably one that never actually made it to the States.
That'd be smart.
That would be cool. I think there was some leaker who had tweeted some list, and I people thought it was credible, but I think, you know, I don't think there's ever been more than like 2 or 3 years between Fire Emblems. They come out at a pretty steady pace, you know, ever since they came west on the Game Boy Advance. So I think that's got a good chance. Another thing I'm expecting, or at least a lot of people are from Nintendo, is maybe a Metroid Prime remaster. And the latest rumor, which I think is a lot more credible than getting the whole trilogy, is that it would just be a remaster of the first game. And
Mhm.
I believe that. I don't think Nintendo is gonna want to put the effort finding a way to make Metroid Prime 3 work without the Wii controller, which they probably could.
You can totally do it.
Yeah, they could. I don't know if they will. I could see them just doing an update of this game. That comes out, I'll play it. The other thing that, and this is even less firm, but yeah, it's tough for me to give you a list of games that I'm looking forward to now, because I think a lot of the stuff that I would potentially want to play hasn't been announced. Um, and this other game that I think would come out, or at least is Atlas was saying that they wanted to have like a big tentpole release in 2022, which not going to be a new Shin Megami Tensei game, not going to be not going to be Persona 6, but
Mm.
they had announced several years ago this title that they were teasing called Project Refantasy. This,
Oh,
um,
yeah, yeah, I saw that updated trailer, which was still a
yeah,
bunch of nothing.
Yeah, it's a bunch of nothing, but maybe this nothing turns into something this year. Like, what, I don't know what else they could come up with. It's going to be a tentpole release. That's the only thing that like they've ever mentioned before that fits that criteria, I think. Um, but whatever it is, I'm definitely interested in hearing about it. So, maybe we're going to have to do another one of these in 6 months after E3, because we might have a better idea by that time of what's going to come out in the latter half of the year. What was
Yeah,
and you were looking at your Steam wish list? Did you find what you were looking for?
I was looking at my phone app, and then I realized I'm a dumbass, and I should have just been using the computer that's right in front of me to look at the better version of the wish list. So let me see here. Yeah, because I think I have better sorting options, I think. One game, it's another indie game, but it's called Tunic, and according to Steam, it's coming out March 16th. It's basically like an indie take on Zelda, but you'll play as a little fox, and it's isometric 3D. So that I'm looking forward to this year. I'd like to play that as like one of those games in between stuff. Um,
Sounds interesting.
see, it looks like most of the stuff on my. There we go. Looking for some other shout outs. Oh, yeah, I'll shout this out. Stray, the game that they were showing off in the PS5
Ooh, the
thing,
cat game.
the cat game, 2022. Looking for that. I'm going to shout this one out even though it doesn't even have a target year. I think it's probably coming out 2022. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I know me and Paul are both looking for that. Looking forward to that. So, that's the retro style pixel beat 'em up of the old Turtles arcade games, but you're going to get not only the four turtles, but April O'Neil, Shred, Splinter, and probably a couple other characters and stuff. Looking forward to that.
I think I can highlight one for Mike, even
Mhm.
though he's not here, and that's the new Lego Star Wars one. That was the
Oh,
Skywalker Saga or
yeah.
something. So hasn't that gotten delayed like twice now? So like
Who knows, man?
I think it was supposed to come out last year and then maybe even the year before. So hopefully that one isn't just like development hell or something. But like I know that one is one that Mike is looking forward to. Uh,
Nice,
hopefully that's good. But I think it's slated for next year or well this year now.
nice. Yeah, that's all the ones I basically want to mention from the Steam wish list right now. A couple others are like still dated, but I'm not super excited, and they may move around, so I'm not gonna bring them up. The other game I was gonna mention for this year that is currently has a hard date is Starfield, Space Skyrim, or
Did that
Space
did
Elder
that
Scrolls.
did that actually get a date?
It has a date.
Wow, I didn't realize they put a date on it. Think it's
Yep,
gonna make it?
November 11th, 2022.
Wow.
Do I think it's gonna make it? That's a different question. Um, I like it too, I guess. I haven't even played Skyrim yet, but that's probably on my not on my wish list. That's on my list this year to give like a try of the new definitive edition of it. I always meant to play it, and as once again, just other stuff I cared more about. And now that they've, basically reached their final version after they took a bunch of fan mods, quality, bug tested them, and were going for and packaged it all into the official game. Should be pretty fun, and I mean PC I can still put in other mods and tweak stuff, so we'll see. I think I'll give it a try at some point. Like I said, I've got some other stuff on the radar, and the stuff I've already on my list takes priority over that. But yeah, there's some stuff I'm working my way through. Um, but yeah, I don't know, Ed. Is that something you're curious about? It will be coming to Game Pass, so you can try it for no additional
Maybe
cost.
maybe I don't love first person games, but I think they said they were gonna include a third person mode, so maybe I could try that.
It's typically what they've done with the
I know they have with Skyrim, but I think it's
Scrim.
kinda janky. Yeah,
Yeah,
Scrim, yeah.
Scrim, Scrim.
Um,
One place Scrim,
seems like, and probably rightfully so, that a
Scrim.
lot of publishers they're not trying to give you any sort of dates more than like a few months out, 6 months out. Like we got nothing for the end of and that's probably wise because especially because things could change and schedules like especially now with COVID still being a pretty big threat.
Yeah.
And I guess no one wants to be the next Cyberpunk 2077 and promise dates and keep slipping
Oh
and
yeah.
slipping and um but even games that came out to positive reception like like Final Fantasy VII remake that got delayed by a month. So like we
Hmm.
could be looking at all these dates that maybe something in March comes out in April. Like
Hmm.
there's it even a month seems like it can make a pretty big difference in terms of bug fixes.
Yeah.
So even the dates we have now, I guess, could slip. I could see Forspoken slipping past May. I
I could.
especially because it's a big open world game. Those ones often have a lot of bugs. I don't think they're easy to make.
I don't know.
Um,
Yeah. Oh no, it's not easy to make, but it seems like I don't know. It's either quiet confidence or they know something's going to be seriously wrong. But I don't know. It felt like it was a PS5 flagship game, and also being bold and making it like $70 on all the platforms,
oh yeah,
including Steam.
you mean oh yeah, Steam, yeah.
It could be. Um, it might be a show of confidence. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy ended up being a hidden gem for them. They
Yeah,
they knew it was a great game. It had some bugs, but it was perfectly playable. And what the final thing is like there, like that game's great. It's like the perfect length, like 20 to 25 hours, plenty of accessibility stuff, so you could get under 20 if you really wanted to. Um, and they did, they did the thing that we like, which is we'd heard it was in development, and it wasn't until like 6 months before it was coming out that they're like, here's all the information, enjoy. And people kind of had like a weird response, but then it got out in the wild and people were like, no, this game's actually legit good, play it. And then everyone who's played it has just said, pretty much been like, yeah, no, this was good, this is what we wanted with Avengers, and they did it here, so yay. So hopefully that'll be a bright future for Square Enix there. But yeah, was there any other games you were thinking about, Ed, or things in general before we move on to our little last segment?
Let me just look at my list again. I made a short list. See, my like I said, mine's a lot shorter than yours. I just haven't seen a lot that is like definitely coming out that I know I'm gonna play.
Don't you want a Lego PS5? I'm gonna Google that right now. It just popped in my head.
Oh, the Lego PS5.
Is there a Lego PS?
Well,
Someone had to.
there was the Lego NES set, and I have that, but I don't think they're gonna make a Lego PS5.
No,
And I
someone
don't
did.
know. Yeah, I know someone did,
I'm
but I
gonna
don't
send you a
think this
picture right
gonna.
now.
I saw the picture. I know it. I know
Did you
it
see the other
exists.
picture?
Um, well, maybe not the picture that you sent, but I did see the Lego PS5 that was
Okay.
um that someone created.
Here, I'm gonna send you this other one because there's the one I'm sure you've seen, and then there's probably another. This other one you might not have seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this one. Send it to his phone.
Yep. I don't know if I saw that one.
Okay, so there you go. I win.
But
No, yeah.
I bet you I could go online and someone's probably already made instructions for it and they have a part list and I could order the parts and make a Lego PS5 if I really want it. But I don't. So
Don't you just want your PS? Why don't you just replace the shells on your PS5 with Lego? That would be fun, wouldn't it?
I wonder if uh maybe. Wonder if anyone's done that.
Someone's got to have tried it.
People have put like a Raspberry Pi in the Lego NES.
That's funny.
And
That's
I
good.
think I think I even saw someone. The Lego NES also comes with like a TV that like has a Mario level on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I saw people put like an LCD screen in the Lego TV.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's funny.
but I digress. No, there's not much else that I was looking forward to. Which I'm kind of okay with. I honestly I'd be okay if it were just those few games that I really want to play. That's all that appeals to me this year, because I have plenty of games from the past few years that I still want to catch up on. Um, so I
Yeah.
mean, I could, I guess, like, I could go several years just with no new games, but like anyone, I do like new shiny. It's always
Yeah.
nice to have something new. New is always exciting.
Speaking of new shiny that we know is going to come out this year, but maybe not in our hands, Steam Deck. So Ed, where's your head right now? Because I know you actually pre-ordered, but where is your head at on the Steam Deck at this time?
I am kind of leaning towards not electing to confirm my pre-order. I'm uh, I know you're gonna get it for sure, right?
I'm
But
definitely gonna get it.
don't you have like a Q1 or Q? Don't you have a Q1 pre-order?
So it would be a Q2 pre-order at this point because I think it got
Oh,
pushed back. It's
oh
fine though.
no.
That's
So
fine.
you didn't get in the initial December wave.
I don't think so. But once again, like we said, there's so much that goes into this that may affect it because we don't know how many people are going to confirm into it. I did buy one of the more expensive ones too. I went for the full super one, whatever. So
The 512 gigabyte.
yeah, so the 512. So it's possible that maybe that will affect it and move it up because they'll start shipping those and maybe there won't be as many people who purchase that one. There might be people who drop out and can't keep the pre-order, don't fulfill their pre-order. Stuff like that could happen. Or, depending on region priority, could end up getting mine sooner or later than other people as well. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. I'm not going to, I'm just going to wait. And whenever it comes, it comes. I do have my own, I bought a gaming laptop, or I bought a laptop that is very capable of gaming. It has a 3070 mobile card. Well, not mobile, but laptop card, whatever you want to call it. I guess you could say mobile, but it's fine. It lets me do VRR, it lets me do DLSS. It's it's fine. I do like 1440p at the highest, and sometimes 4K, not all the time. So I'm not hurting for it. It's more of a novelty, but I do like having it. And I think, Ed, this might be the thing where, like, I'm gonna maybe I'll entice you and be like, hey, buy it, buy it for yourself, try it out, see if you like it. It could be your PC for PC gaming. If you don't like it, I'll buy it off you, and that way, then I'll get it to someone else who wants it. That way, because it might be hard enough already for people to get it this year. So if you end up being there, maybe that's my Trojan horse for you to finally get you into PC gaming, is this Switch-like device that might fill the niche for you.
Yeah, but then if I like it, then I'm gonna have to like get a full PC too.
Well, that's your problem. You could keep the Steam Deck and be fine with it. You don't need to buy another PC. You having a personal desire to go higher is not Steam Deck's fault.
One piece of hardware that I am looking forward to that I have pre-ordered and um is the Analog Pocket. I did get a
Mhm.
pre-order in for that. That's not coming until Q4 of next year, if they even hit that target.
Q4 of
Uh,
2023.
2022.
Oh,
So
okay,
I
okay.
I I was like refreshing right on the dot and trying to get in the queue, and I still couldn't get in that first queue. What they must have had like 10. They must have had like 10 left
Yeah.
over. Like, yeah, the first wave is gonna get here in Q1 2022, but the first wave is only 10 analog pockets.
Yeah.
Um, so I yeah, so that so I at least I'm not in 2023, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have more production issues and I don't get it until 20. But
I get you. I get you.
yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll get a Steam Deck. I don't know. I have so many systems and games to play at this point that like I always have a hard time justifying like one more piece of hardware when I'm kind of spread thin between the ones that I do have. Um
So here's
but maybe
what I
you know,
well.
maybe I need to just get a Steam Deck just in case Shin Megami Tensei 5 only comes to PC. Maybe that's my hedge.
So that's the thing. Like, I know you like a certain number of exclusive games, but at the same time, the third party games, like you were talking about, there's Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, you were like, oh man, I wasn't gonna lug my PS5 to my family's house when I was traveling for that, but I really wish. Then we were texting and you were like, oh man, I think I would have liked to, or it's killing me that I can't bring it, or I can't play Persona while I'm out here. Well, I mean, I guess you couldn't play Persona 5 on there without like an emulator, and I don't know if you'd have to use a PS3 emulator. You can use PS4. Um,
Yeah.
but
I could
the
play Persona 4.
but there, yeah, some of the third party games and stuff you'd be able to play on the Switch on the go because you wouldn't have to. Or, sorry, the Steam Deck on the go because you don't have to. You don't need your PS5 for that. So
Yeah.
it fills a niche.
I could probably find a way to justify it.
And then you could get
Um,
a Switch emulator so games would run well. And then when Metroid Prime Remaster comes out, you can buy your physical copy and then leave it in the box because you just download the ROM and play it at 60 FPS, glorious 60 FPS on your Steam Deck. And you're like, oh man, this is the Switch Pro. I don't even need a Switch Pro anymore. I can play all the Metroid games right on my Steam Deck.
well, I say right now that I'm not interested in it, but sometimes when I get an email for something saying like
Yeah.
buy it now or you can't buy it for a long time, I'm kind of like, oh, I gotta get it. You know,
Yeah.
I struggle with fighting the FOMO of anything. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to miss out on anything cool. So
No, that.
we'll see how I feel when I have that offer to order one sitting in front of me.
And yeah, I wouldn't be pushing for this if I didn't think it would actually like fill a fill a void for your life. I say that kind of comically, but yeah, I think you would enjoy it more than you give yourself credit for on that. But it's your money, it's your time. You get to figure that out. But yeah, so there's that. So Ed, you asked if we could do this last segment, and I said, yeah, that's a great idea. So why don't you start off with what our last segment for this episode is?
So the idea I had was to select a title that hasn't been announced or really rumored at all that would be just a pleasant surprise. But highly unlikely, but extremely pleasant if it actually happened. So
Mhm.
since this was my idea, I guess I will start. And I thought of this because I saw a YouTube video of someone else speculating, like, what if this happened?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was like, yes, I need this. And that is a new Mario and Luigi game. Uh,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
and that's the other Mario RPG series. It was kind of like the only Mario RPG series over because Paper Mario hasn't really been an RPG since the GameCube. Um, and the developer that did Mario and Luigi, they went out of business. Alpha Dream
Yeah.
after they did a couple 3DS remakes of Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story that didn't
Yeah.
sell well. I played both of them. Both of them were good remakes. I had fun with them, and I'd like to see another one on the Switch. I don't know who would develop it. Um, I guess like Intelligent Systems, but they do Fire Emblem, they do Paper Mario. I don't know if they're gonna do, and I don't know. I would love to see that, and I feel like if we're seeing Nintendo try to revive, um, like they did with Metroid Dread. Nobody ever thought that was gonna happen, and we're seeing the Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot camp,
Yeah.
the revival of Advance Wars. That's a pretty niche series, and like I don't think anyone expected that. So it could happen. Could happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it is, but I would love to see that. That to me would be like the best surprise of 2022 if that happened.
Okay.
Uh, and that would probably be one that I think if they announced it like they did Paper Mario the Origami King, where it was like this is coming out in 2 months, I would be so hyped.
Okay. Yeah. So I misinterpreted what you had written to me originally. So I thought it was like any video gaming thing, but I still managed to come up with a game idea, and then I want to do pitch some predictions, or well, not some predictions, but just some wild, out of thin air polls for stuff that could happen this year. Um, just for funsies. But the first thing is game wise, something I would love to see. I want to see Capcom put out a new Mega Man X game, or
When you said Capcom, I totally knew where you were going with this.
I want them to announce that they're making a new console Mega Man X game, and even a brand new Mega Man spin-off console game that's like a third-person action shooter action game, fully designed to be like, you know, carry on the Mega Man legacy. None of these dumb mobile games that are just mobile trash and they're there for people to just click buttons and go, ooh, I'm wasting my time for 5 minutes while I'm on the train. Like, oh my god, it's Mega Man X has become this. That's what they did to Mega Man X, and I'm so sad about it. Now I get it. Maybe it's time I have to let the series go. Mega Man X8, I think was fine. It's kind of where it is. Maybe the series doesn't really need to go any further. I got to just let it go. Their writing teams have been phoning it in for several games, anyways. Capcom's not putting the budget behind it, so maybe it's time for just a brand new style of Mega Man that starts out fresh, and do like a third-person action game that just uses the Mega Man title and goes hard on a new style of gameplay or something like that. I'd
What
be
if
okay with
what
that.
if what if they skipped Mega Man 9, called it Mega Man XX?
Oh, I'm
Like,
sorry, Ed. You're a little behind the times. They already made Mega Man 9, 10, and 11 and 12.
oh man, did they call it
Actually,
Mega
wait.
Man?
Maybe they didn't make
Well,
12.
wasn't Mega Man X though?
So no, not actually. I get where you're going. I know what you're thinking
Yeah.
there. I can, give me a sec to Google just to make sure, because I thought 12 was out. No, no, I think 11 was the one that came out on Switch. Yeah, okay, so Capcom apparently, according to Destructoid, an article from, trying to find the date of this article, was published. Ooh, ew. Yeah, so I think Mega Man 11. Yes, Mega Man 11 was the game that came out in 2018. It was on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. And That was just continuing the 2D style of Mega Man gameplay, but they actually used a modern art style in 11, kind of like what they did with like 8 back on PlayStation 1. And Mega Man 9 and 10 were both like done in the original Nintendo style graphics, but with some like new little bits of new tech stuff mixed in there, and whatnot. But yeah, Mega Man. So Mega Man X, the X doesn't actually mean anything in terms of the number, even though I know you were getting that for 10. No, it's just it takes so many hundreds of years in the future past the original Mega Man timeline, and then picks up the story in the far flung future. And they've even gone further out than that with the Mega Man Zero games and the Mega Man ZX games that were on Game Boy Advance,
I
DS.
know the Mega Man X isn't the number. I'm saying just what if they did the Windows thing, skipped X9, just it was Mega Man
My
X and
bad.
Mega
Oh,
Man X, Mega Man X10, Mega Man XX. I was being silly.
I am so sorry. I hit my microphone really bad. No. Oh, sorry. I meant, yeah. Once again, misunderstood where you were going with that. Yes, skip
Yeah,
X9 and
I
went
was
to
being silly.
XX. That'd be funny. Double X, Mega Man Double X. That
Yeah.
I'd laugh. Um, but once again, yeah, they did kind of wrap up the X storyline because it goes the technically the Mega Man Zero games and the Mega Man ZX games are continuations of the X franchise as well. So
Okay.
yeah, in a way, I could say, yeah, that storyline's played out. It's fine. They can stop. I'm just such a big fan of that art style, and I feel like I would love to just see more games in that style. But Legends also look good. They're never gonna finish Legends. That's really sad. But yeah, I would like a brand new Mega Man spin-off game that's like a third-person action shooter. That would feels really good. I would love to see that this year as a game. So what I was gonna throw out, and I'll go from I'll start with this because I just realized that this one's possible, but there's no like hard information on it other than what could possibly be happening. Is Oculus Quest 3? I could see that coming out this year. It's been the Quest 2 came out in October 2020, and with Meta doing its big rebranding to get rid of the Oculus branding on the Quest and go for um, Meta, the Meta Oculus, or the Meta Quest 3. I could see that happening, or even calling it Meta Quest. No, it'd have to be Meta Quest because they're putting it on the Oculus 2 boxes, on the Quest 2 boxes now. So I could see them do an updated version with that, especially with the PSVR thing happening. PSVR 2 eventually coming out, maybe later this year, maybe next year or something like that. I could see them gearing up for an improved version to get ahead. So that'd be neat. I'm gonna put that out that that's a possibility for this year. And then here's my wild prediction for 2022, and that is feeding off of also the Steam Deck, but also the wild success of um of the Switch in every territory, and the it's still lagging behind on the compared to sales on PlayStation, and further wanting to grow the Game Pass brand is Microsoft announcing Xbox Series G, a Switch mobile style Xbox SKU that'll be a handheld thing that can dock to the TV, and basically it looks like a Steam Deck, but it's Xbox. I could totally.
What does Series G mean? Is it like Go?
Yeah. I'm thinking
Not Series M mobile.
no, yeah, and also G could also be gaming. P, you just don't want to call something Series P because everyone would go, "Oh, it's P." That
Unless you're Nintendo and you call your console the Wii.
right. But Microsoft's a Western company; they're not going to do that. They're not. They're just not.
They're gonna
They're,
call it the Series PII.
or they're not going to call it XP. They're because they know what that means. Yeah, I think Series G. I think that just the G hits right. Like you couldn't even do H for handheld. You can't do P for portable. Um, I think
Yeah.
G makes the most sense for it, and they're due. They put out the Series X and the Series S. I think there is actually real rumors about like doing like a new version of the X recently. Actually, I'm gonna confirm that before I'm putting that out there that I think I heard news, but if not, and I'm not saying me, I'm saying like articles were out there.
You mean a new version of the Series X?
That's what I thought I read somewhere, but that might have been once again people
I would
spinning.
be surprised. I would be surprised. I'm gonna make a prediction that we will not get any new hardware from Nintendo. I think they're just gonna ride out the Switch and the Switch OLED as long as they can.
I did see a
We're
thing. Screen Rant, September 9th, 2021, did an article titled "Upgraded Xbox Series X S Models Rumored for 2022 and 2023."
I could see 2023. I don't think 2022.
It's also strongly rumored uh, that PS5 Pro is happening, and so there
Yeah,
might be that
I
arms
believe it.
race.
I believe it.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if um Microsoft decided maybe like you keep Series S as it is. You upgrade X and maybe call it Series X2, something like that. And you also then introduce a new model that's meant to be like the portable model for people to take around, and that way it's built in gaming on the go. Maybe even its tablet form factor of some sort. I think copying the Steam Deck makes more sense, but or copying the Switch really, because that's what the Steam Deck's copying. I think that you've just seen more and more of those machines coming out there, and I really, until Steam Deck is confirmed, like with Proton, to be able to run Game Pass, I could see Microsoft going like, let's just do one. Let's just do this handheld here. The market's growing. We see all these other companies out of China putting these ones out. You see hobbyists and other companies trying to put them together as like these little handheld gaming computers, gaming PC computers for people to use with full versions of Windows. And I'm sure Microsoft likes that. And like, what if we do an official one? Why not? Like, the whole reason we've named it Xbox Series is because we're going to have a different number of things. We don't have to iterate anymore in terms of naming. It's just Xbox, and we can do like this is Series Gen 2 or whatever. So I think it makes sense. I think they're due to.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to start buying my games digital in anticipation of all these like portables because there's not gonna be like a series. What do you call it? A Series G with a disk drive.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be a thing they have to solve. Maybe they'll. I've always said like they should do it. They should do like a companion device functionality where if you have a Series X or Series S, well, okay, Series X because that's the one with the disk drive. So, is you can take one disc and you can register that as like your one physical game digitally for your theoretical Series G, and you can only have one registered at a time. And if you can't put on another one until you delete it, but you get like one free version that's registered via a disc, and I don't see why that's such a problem because then if someone ever deletes it or whatnot, then it's gone. They have to re-register it. You have to hook it up to the system to do it. I don't see why that'd be such a big issue. There's probably something else I don't know. It'd be a temporary license. It's just registered on the system. I don't think there's enough people that would care enough to buy that system and then pirate one game and never buy another game. I just don't think that's what people do. But who knows? And I guess also with Game Pass, you just want people to play games on Game Pass with it. So why not? It seems to be a very popular form factor is people having these portable gaming machines that are just like as powerful as consoles, and we're there. So that's my big wild prediction. Is Microsoft's going to do that instead of like VR or anything else? So like need one more device that people will buy, and then think about it. There are people who double dip. People double dip on Switches. If they could get a $300 model, I mean, I think the S is $300. So if they get like a $300 S model that's portable, and think about it, then you get people with S's to double dip because they're like, well, yeah, my S is small and I can take it places, but oh, this one is literally my handheld gaming and I can dock it to the TV and undock it and play it without a screen and just have it in my hands. Like, people love that stuff. So
It would be a smart play.
it makes sense. That's my wild prediction. Yeah, 2022 is going to be an interesting year.
They're all interesting. I mean,
Their own
if you
ways,
care
yeah.
if if you care enough about the topic, there's always something new to read about. Um, if you really keep your ears open.
Yes, sirree. So yeah, uh, Ed, looking forward to continuing this in 2022. Thank you to all our listeners who are with us, past, present, and future listeners. We hope you're liking it, sharing the podcast. We've got some other ideas in the pipeline. We're trying to figure stuff out. Like, this is a hobbyist thing, so we're trying to figure out balance that between normal life and doing this. So yeah, we hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and we all hope you have a bunch of exciting games lined up for 2022. Or you're looking forward to, and we're gonna keep checking in like we do, and do our normal topics and maybe some new stuff. Anything to add, Ed?
Um, just hope it's a. I just aside from gaming, I hope we get some normalcy this year. I mean, I know that's not the most fun thing to talk about. But like, hopefully, and all these developers are able to like just keep on things and and keep everything doing well.
Oh yeah, and NFTs, they are trash. Keep them out of gaming. Keep them out of life. No, uh, no effing thanks to NFTs. So that is the Option Menu Crew stance on that. And I'm sad I even have to say it. So, but we're aware. Pretty sure me and Ed agree that they're stupid. They're money.
Well, I think they're stupid until I can start selling them. So, keep an eye out for the Option Menu Crew NFTs.
Oh man, I guess we'll cancel the podcast if Ed makes an NFT. I'm officially canceling the podcast. So that's that right there is a ripcord of like, nope. That is definitely a thing there. I will not let that happen.
Yeah, there's no positive for including NFT games.
It's just money laundering, just a scam.
Every like example, it's like, oh, it's gonna be play to earn. You can purchase a piece of property in our game and like rent it out. Like, I don't want to become a digital landlord. I don't think anyone should be a digital landlord, but
The
that's where
companies
we're
already
going.
are. They just want to make an excuse about, oh, this is different, and it's not. No, it's not. You just want to pretend so you can market a thing and then give up on it and be like, oh, well, people don't want it. So, like, they know it's doomed to failure. So they're just going to make a bunch of money off the suckers. That's what they're going to do. That's how they always do it. So stay away
Yeah,
from NFTs, folks.
I sure hope it doesn't infect any of the games I like. So
NFTs
far,
aren't
it hasn't, but
NFTs aren't
good.
for helping distribute wealth. They're for collecting wealth for the people who are smart enough to have figured out how dumb everyone else. So please don't get involved, and all the developers, all the publishers, all of the people who work in games, like, just stay away from NFTs and stop before you just tank the industry. It's not worth it. Let's just skip the part where everyone thought this was a good idea, then realized it wasn't, but secretly everyone knew this was going to happen, and they all knew, and they were all planning it. No, let's just skip to the part where we're all wise enough to just not do it. All right. Have a great 2022, everyone. Looking forward to it, Ed, and hopefully we'll get some new some crew members back on for some other stuff too. Take care, everyone. Till the next time.
Yeah, bye, everybody.